Today, we're going to be looking at Morphic, which is a trending repository on GitHub. It's a project that uses OpenAI's API, and it also integrates live search, so live web search, and database support. So we're going to look at it together. I created a fork, and I made a simple project that helps people find information on grants. So we're going to take a look and see what I did and how to get it installed and how to get it deployed to Cloudflare. So let's take a look. So first, here's the repository. I'll link this down below. It is an AI-powered search engine with generative UI. This description probably needs to be updated because they've added a lot since then, including database support, but let's just click the link and see what it shows us. So it's pretty simple chat interface here. We got a drop down for speed, quality. They do support user accounts. There's themes, links. These dots are just to the homepage. So a sample search would be, why is NVIDIA growing rapidly? So it responds with searched images and results. And it also answers this question. We get cool embedded assets here. We get links to related information, and we can ask a follow-up question. So it's pretty cool. The one that I made is very similar. I geared the specific questions, the default questions, to grant. This is like a grant helper AI. And so I just pre-filled some information. There's also a file where you can go in and set specific actionable items. Here we have some images, some source links, and an answer. If I click the dots, I'll go back. You see here I asked, what are some steps to make a well-worded grant? A stupid question, but this is an example of the multi-step process that the chat can use. So here we have a list of checkboxes, and we also have a text input for specifying exactly what we want. I want to understand grant requirements, and notice that there's checkboxes so I can do multiple. I want a grant to build a skate park. So I did 2 checkboxes, and I further clarified my query here, and we got a ton of stuff back. So yeah, this is just an overview. Let's get into actually cloning and using the repo. I would suggest to fork the repo. That way you can continue to get updates and sync with the new changes. This project has been updated rapidly, and they've added a lot of cool stuff. So my suggestion would be to just fork the repo, and that way you can sync the fork. If you're not sure how that's done, you just go to the repo page here, and we select fork. And then from here, we can fork the repository. We can name it whatever we want. So here's the repository. The important thing to start with is to copy the environment variable local into a separate .env file if you want to test it out locally and build it locally. Keep in mind that when you deploy this to Cloudflare or to Vercel, you will have to create additional values in their environment variable storage. So here, there's a few things to look at. We have OpenAI API. You can get that at platform.openai.com. Tavily. So Tavily, I think I'm saying that right. Tavily API allows you to use the LLM to search the web for information. So that's what returns the images and the links. It is very helpful in a chatbot to have the ability to search like Bing search does. And then Upstash is the database. They offer a free, if you just have one project, it's free for the first 10,000 calls or something like that. We'll look at that in a minute, but you need both the URL and the token. This was a little confusing to find, so I'll show you where that is specifically. So you go to platform.openai.com. You'll need an account. You log in. The dashboard looks like this. You go to API keys. Here's your API keys. You create a new secret for a new secret, and you want to give all permissions, and you can set a project and a name. It'll give you the key. Make sure to copy that and put it in your .env file, which, remember, is a copy of the example. The next service is the search service. You will need an account, but again, this is free. You go to the link in the README file or in the EMV example file. There's the URL. You go to that, and you set up a API key. And then from there, you copy that and, again, put it in your .env file. And finally, Upstash with the Redis database. You go to console.upstash.com/Redis. Again, you're going to need a free account, but here's our database. You can create more databases with a free one. You only get one. So after you set up an account, you want to create a database. I think I just left all the default values. It looks something like this. You get an endpoint and a password. So you need two values for this. You need the URL and you need the API key. This is a little confusing. Just make the default database like I just showed you. Here's mine. Scroll down to where it says REST API. So we're going to be using the REST API, and then click over to the tab with the .env, and then this is what you want to copy. So this is what actually goes into the .env file. So here's mine. I've got it all updated. I have the fork on my machine. I use GitHub Desktop. You can use command line if you want, but create the fork, get these values. This project uses bun, so you just do bun I to install, and then bun dev to run locally. So we're on localhost 3000 here. So here's our site. There's a little sidebar with the arrow on the side. You can see I did a previous search earlier. So keys for a successful grant proposal. If I click that, it actually brings up the old information, and I can see that in the database as well. So if I go to my usage tab, I can see that there have been 27 commands. You get 10,000 per day. So this is actually working where it's saving the history of the searches. It's using the live search with the Tavily service, and then also we're getting information for the query using OpenAI's API. So everything's coming together here. Let's do common weaknesses and grants to avoid. It's going to give us some information. One thing I noticed that it doesn't save to the history or save to the database until you've ended the chat, I think. So I don't think it's going to show up here yet because we're in the active chat now. So here, common weaknesses and grants to avoid. We have some information with images, some website links, and then some content here underneath. We got some inline sources, which are really nice. Once we click out, we can expand, and there is our second search right here, common weaknesses and grants. From here, it's pretty simple to deploy. They mentioned specifically in the README Cloudflare and Vercel. I've done this a few times in a few videos, so if you're not sure how to do this, check out those other videos, but I'll run through it really quick. Basically, log into the Cloudflare dashboard with your free Cloudflare account. You go to Workers and Pages, you create a new site, you select the Morphic repo, and it should auto-detect that it's a NextJS product. If it doesn't, select the NextJS framework. From there, you need to set up your API keys. So this documentation is missing that third service. If you're going to take advantage of the database, you also need to include these environment variables, but it should ask you for your environment variables as you're deploying the site. Put all those in, so there should be a total of 4. There's the OpenAI API, there's the web search, and then there's the 2 for the database. Save and deploy. But as it's deploying, you want to do cancel because there is a setting that you need to change. You need to set the compatibility flag to Node.js compat. So this is just a setting that you need in order for the Next.js site to render, and then redeploy the site. So this is a really cool project that uses OpenAI's API. It's a chatbot wrapper. And I've done one of these on Lobe Chat. I thought I would do one on this one because I've used it a little bit, and it is really cool. You could easily start a business or a website using this type of information and getting a real response that's better than a search on Google or Yahoo or Bing or wherever you search. This is actually feeding you back some information with some live search links, some LLM information, and also history for the user. We didn't even get into user accounts. You can set up user accounts so people have to log in, and that way their user account is tied to their search history. That's something that maybe I'll do a video on if there's enough interest, but I thought I would at least give an overview for this project. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was interesting. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.